third quarter was an iffy quarter, but man, that Illini team we saw in the fourth quarter, Brad, that's a dang good team.
Yeah, I mean, after the first drive of the third quarter, when Illinois, let Michigan State march right down there and make it a one-possession game, it was a dominant performance defensively. I mean, you look at the fourth quarter, they had, I think, 3 consecutive 3-and-outs there after converting those 2 fourth downs on that drive, and I think that's where that's the progression they've made. I think also getting Scott back in the game after sitting out, they didn't have him in on that first possession, and then he comes in. He did make a difference, but this is we can complain about play calls. We can complain about this, that, or the other all the way. This is a 22-point win when you were a 2.5-point favorite, right? I mean, at some point you got to say, all right, we're 7-3. That's good, and we just did what we were supposed to do on Saturday.
Brad, my thoughts exactly. We can pick apart. I'm going to say I'm concerned about the offensive line and the sacks. Only reason I'm saying that, to start the fourth quarter, I thought Luke Altmaier was going to get hurt with one injury away from that happening. But at the end of the day, when you look at the big picture, it flat out, it's 7-3. They got to win in November. Typically, if you cover Illinois athletics and if you're a fan, you lose. They lose these games. I mean, they lost to Michigan State a couple years ago. He's growing a program, and one of the things that they talked about for the people who didn't go to the game, why Beadle was having so much success, is because he can put guys in the NFL. So 7 wins, and they have a chance to win 2 more, guys.
This is exciting. This is what we hoped for last season. And maybe it was a year in coming, but I think it was pretty darn interesting. And I do think we noticed Jason's comment, which I had to throw up there.
I agree I don't disagree with Jason there. And I actually tweeted, if you remember, before that play, I said we should blitz here. We need to blitz on display. We rushed 3. Oops.
Well, the funny thing is when they apply the pressure and you tell Gabe and Seth Coleman to attack. Holy cow! They were quite the rush there, kid.
They looked really, really good. This was the first time in a long time where I've seen the Illinois defensive line just dominate. I mean, I believe the quarterback was sacked. I could be wrong, but I think Childs was sacked 6-7 times, maybe 5, 6, 7 times. We've not seen that in a long time from the Illinois defensive standpoint. They brought the pressure today. They got stops when they had to. Sure, you gave up 343 yards, but you only gave up 16 points. You got stops when you had to.
Yeah, 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. That's exactly the kind of performance you want from your defensive line. I always struggle when they put them out in coverage. I'm like, these guys are so good at getting to the quarterback. Let them go get the quarterback, right?
Do you remember that time Lawrence Taylor went back in coverage? Because I don't.
He did once, then they fired that coach.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird.
Well, and I'm a little bit of a homer for Josh McCray because he's a good kid. He's fun to watch, and 2 season-ending injuries, and watching him get the opportunity, that was a huge run, that 30-yard gain that kind of really broke the back. I think at that point Michigan State knew it was over, but. What do you guys think of seeing Josh have this type of excitement and success?
Mike, I'll say I think in our little conversation we had, I said, "Where's Josh McCray? Where is he at after the?" I thought he'd get more carries, to be honest, and maybe it's to keep him healthy. But there was a stretch there. I was like, "Where did he go?" And he ends up with 9 carries, but most of those were the goal line carries at the end. He had the 130-yard run kind of at the end. Most of it's the goal line. At the end of the game, and I was like, where's this guy when you need, you're on the 45-yard line, you need to get a first down, just move the change and control the ball. I don't know. I think he could maybe get a few more. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he does. They're trying to not have him have a season-ending injury. But man, I liked him of all the backs today. I thought he ran the hardest, ran the best.
I'm really happy for Josh for a number of reasons, and here's why. I think, I could be wrong, but I think he's Brett Bielema's first recruit at Illinois. And I do think they're trying to protect him, Brad. They were just one injury away. He's the big guy, that big back. And, obviously Caden Fagan is gone, so they're going to need him against the more physical teams. So protecting him right now is not a bad thing. I think it's smart from a coaching standpoint. And a couple of games ago, when Josh had a great game, we saw how emotional Brett Bielema got because, again, he was his first recruit, and he's been through so much, and he's still fighting, and he's still playing. He's not pouting. He has good body language. So I'm happy for him. But if that's what it takes to win games and you're not, giving him the ball 30, 40 times a game right now, I'm good with that.
Perfect. Yeah. And I got to be honest with you. I thought Luke Altmaier he was definitely more, I don't know how to say it, but he was more precise in the second half.
Well, I also thought he got rid of the football. The offensive line did not do him any favors. And he was getting hounded early, just media, guys just running free. He didn't get sacked one time. He threw the ball away instead of taking the interception, taking the sack. As you look at that, they didn't have any 3 tackles for loss total on running plays, but there were no sacks again for Michigan State. And I understand they're not a great defense at getting sacks, but they did put pressure on Altmaier. He stood in the one play I thought was awesome when he hits Pat Bryant. And on that, he just took that hit, stood in there, took the hit him deep for the big play there. But I thought Altmaier was great. I'll say, do we appreciate Pat Bryant enough? I mean, how good he is. Seems to be open all the time. He only had 4 catches and 7 targets, but I think some of that was just the pressure Altmaier was under. If he'd had more time, I think he would have hit him many times. He had 135 yards, touchdown. Zachary Franklin. They have 2 NFL wide receivers on the outside. If you give Altmaier time, he's going to find those guys. They're going to get open. They're going to make big plays, and so that's where that's an impressive duo right there on the outside.
You talk about numbers, Brad, with Pat Bryant. He had 135 yards receiving, 1 for 57 yards. And Zachary Franklin, who hasn't found the end zone much like he did when he was at UTSA, but he has 7 catches for 44 yards. They get open because they run really, really good routes. They're precise in their routes. They plant, they push off. They're really, really good at that, which is going to translate well to me at the next level in the NFL. Because both of those guys, I believe, will be playing on Sundays. But again, 135 yards passing. And Luke, not that this is a bad number, he was 19 of 32, and a lot of those he threw away just because he didn't take the sack. If there was one improvement I'd like to see him make sure is to get rid of the ball quicker. When you're sitting in the press box, you can see guys that are open, but sometimes he misses. He still has a tendency to stare his receivers down a little bit too much. But I'm not nitpicking. Those are just small things that I see that they could get better at.
Yeah, the other thing is, and we threw up a comment there, but somehow the offensive line, obviously you're not going to fix it this season. But Brad, are we just waiting one more year for some of Bielema's recruits to get big, fast, and mean enough, or is there just is this just one of those unsolved mysteries that we're going to have, somebody going believe it or not?
They have to get better. I mean, there's no question. Maybe it's getting more talent. They've added some guys in the portal this year, and I think they're going to have to either decide that these young guys are going to be the guys and develop them in the offseason, but they have to be better. There's just no question, because you have to do a better job of being able to run the football. And I understand that they're kind of running it up those I don't know, behind those short yardage or those first and 10 plays where you give it to Lawfrey to run right up the gut. I mean, if you have a dominant offensive line, I get it, but they don't. I mean, and so it just seems like that's not the right play a lot. So this offensive line doesn't give Barry Lunny a lot of options for what he can do offensively successfully. So I think he has to be better there. I will say the one, we mentioned how, Aaron Henry gets a lot of flack sometimes. He did the second half. I thought they were great after the first drive. The other thing I'll say, the Illinois special teams had Fabrizio Pintone is punting, today. I don't know why that was. I haven't heard that yet. Did a really nice job punting, and Hank Beatty did a great job on those punt returns. I mean, he had 6 returns, 74 yards, a 25-yard return there. Had one return that would have been longer except for a penalty. I thought, Illinois actually having a punt returner that's gaining yards is pretty cool. It really helps them with field position in these field position battles.
Mike, I'm going to talk about the offensive line. There has to be improvement in the offseason. They have to make strides to get better. Brad hit it right on the head. I mean, this is what are they? They're 7-3. You're 10 games in, and we've talked about the offensive line. It's not going to change now. The problem is it is tough for Barry Lunny. Good teams are able to run the ball up the middle sometimes to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. They haven't done that well all season. So it's not going to get better. So they have to recruit better or find ways to get it done, because I think the offense will be better overall if you could do that. But they just haven't. And other teams have mastered it. They've been able to do that for some reason. And it's shocking because Bielema is a really good lineman coach. And this is something that I know that's dear to him. But I can assure you in the offseason, it probably will be addressed.
Well, my thought was especially what would this team look like without Davis and Priestley out of the portal? Holy cow, this could be a disaster where we wouldn't know how good Pat Bryant is because Luke Altmaier would be in the hospital.
And Luke, I said, one of two things going to happen here. Luke Altmaier's going to, struggle, or he would be dead, one or the other. So I'm glad neither has happened. So thanks to those guys. But, and then the other thing is Brandon Henderson's obviously a guy who could get more time. I don't know. I think he'll have to next season. But, it's interesting. That's the one hole. The defensive line, they lose a guy like Johnny Newton. But they've been pretty solid. Again, they hold them to 87 rush yards, only 3.1 yards per carry. You got to kind of that's effective, right? I mean, I think that's what you kind of want to do as a defensive line. And T.J. Edwards has been really good, and I thought they got some good performances from some other guys too, especially when they're in the spot where they're supposed to be.
I want to talk about Gabe a little bit. I don't know what happened, but the last 3 or 4 games, he's kind of been different. I don't know if somebody, told him or challenged him, but he's been aggressive. And I tell you what, quarterbacks are running from him, which is good. We know as a freshman how good he could be and how good he really is. The last few games, you can really, really see, his talent level, and it's starting to shine, and why some of the NFL teams are definitely interested in him. But just real quick, going back to what Brad said, I mentioned this earlier. The start of the fourth quarter when Luke got sacked, when he went down, it's tough. And I know as a quarterback, you don't like that, but you can't show facial expressions. You don't want to look discouraged. But there was times, and you go back to the Oregon game. I mean, he was running for his life. The Penn State game, and just today, I mean, he threw away probably 5 or 6 today just to avoid sacks.
Well, and one thing about T.J. Edwards is he was kicking some butt on the defensive line, and then when he got pushed afterwards, that was pure WWE. The way T.J. hit the deck, I thought all day they haven't been able to move him all day, and now all of a sudden one little push and he's down. I thought right then, Triple H is looking, going, look, that guy could be with us, because that was a classic move.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to come off the top rope. Is that what you're waiting for, Mike? They have, he's been really good. I gotta say the defensive line was a big question mark, but they've been solid. So that's good. The other thing their thing about this, I think a lot of times now, this was a game I said I wanted to not have to worry in the last 7, and I did. Once they got it, you didn't have to worry at the end. But now they have an opportunity. I mean, let's be honest. They're going to be favored in these last 2 games. These are 2 games, even on the road, they're going to be favored. They have a great chance to win. And now you set your sights forward and you start looking at an 8 or 9 win season. If you can get a 9-3 season, and I know that they had a chance at 10-2, and you're going to look back at the Minnesota game and say it was bad, but a 9-3 season at Illinois is exactly what you're looking for. And I'm gonna go on. I am guilty of it as well. But I said, if you you go to a bowl game every year at Illinois, and win 7-8 games, and we'll build you a statue. Well, I think we get hungry though. The 8-win season. You look back at that and you say, well, it probably should have been a 10-win season, right? And then this year you're looking at it and saying, well, they should probably be 8-2, right? We got to keep ourselves from doing that and just consistently want to get this program up to a 7-8 win consistent team, and then go to the next level. I think you got to walk before you run, and so that's where I'm at with this program.
I've said it, and I'm not going to renege on it. Be in Iowa, Wisconsin. Give me 7 or 8 wins or 9 wins a season. 8 is great because you're going to be in a bowl game. That's what you want. You want a winning season so people don't look at you as a gimme game. You want to be able to be competitive. And right now, some of the fans out there who don't know a lot about Illinois football, it's, when you mention that to them, they think, oh, Illinois football. But the people who are voting and the people who watch football regularly and know anything about Brett Bielema knows that this is a team now that's competitive. He's going to put a competitive team on the field. So to me, I don't want to see them lose the last 2 games. Realistically, I think they're going to split. I don't like saying that. I think they should win both games, but I see that happening to them. But even if they do split, 8 wins get you a really, really nice bowl game, and it's probably going to be against an SEC opponent, which is really, really good as well. So that's going to bring national exposure. And one guy I want to talk about real quick is Aaron Henry. He's had his ups and downs, guys, but he has made a lot of strides. He has gotten better. His defense has gotten better. He doesn't have the talent that was there when Ryan Walters was there, but he's really starting to show improvements to me. They gave up 16 points today. They went to Penn State. They played well, which is a great team. They didn't give up 40, 50 points like they have in the past. So we should start giving this guy some credit because he's learning on the job and doing a really good job.
Hey, yeah, can I say something about that kid? You talked about a really good bowl game. If, as we think, there are 4 Big Ten teams in the college football playoff, right? 4 Big Ten teams out of the 12. Who, if you look at it right now, the only team in the Big Ten with 3 or fewer losses outside of those 4 is Illinois. They could be the top choice to go to a New Year's Day bowl game down in Florida.
Yep.
That would be pretty cool, right?
They're the only Big Ten team. I talked about this in my heat checks last week. They're the only Big Ten team outside of the top 4 that has a shot to win 9 games, which gives them a little bit of marquee value when you're going up against, because folks, the SEC could have as many as 7 10-2 teams. So you need somebody with some wins to go up against them, and the Big Ten is not doing that much. And even if you look at what Illinois has done this year, they do have 3 losses, but all 3 teams they've lost to will be going to bowls. It just happens that Oregon and Penn State will probably be going to the CFP. And then if you look at Minnesota, they did get their 6th win, so they'll at least be a bowl team. So
yeah, I'm not sure I want that matchup with Georgia though.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's
I'm not sure I want to play. Although it'd be cool. There'd be a lot of people watching. I don't know if I want that. I may play all reserves just so they don't get hurt for next season. I don't know. But that's still a great honor, to have that opportunity, have that on the table, and it would be, there. Fedigator.
Well, I mean, if Fedigator,
that's exactly what I was thinking, though. I have to say that's exactly what I was thinking.
If Fedigator says it, then it must be true. So it looks like Citrus Bowl with Georgia. So we could, maybe we could get something like, we'll have
maybe they should just go 8-4.
We'll have the Illini guys Tums halftime show.
Oh God!
You got to believe. I think if they play them and if they upset them, you're all going to eat your words, fellas. Anything's possible. It's college athletics.
Oh, maybe all the Georgia guys will sit out, because they're going to the NFL. There's always that chance, right? Although I don't know that we want Beck to sit out.
Yeah, Beck needs to show up because I have no.
Because he might hit Scott 3 times
in stride. That would be exactly what the Illini football program needs. Here's this team that nobody thought was going to be better than 6-6, beating the team that was supposed to win the national title on New Year's Day.
Yeah, and then they'll lose their opener next year to Directional U. So no, I'm just teasing. They won't, but no, I hope. And so, but no, I do think that they're an opportunity to get a great bowl game, win these 2 games, get to 9-3, and let everything else take care of itself. It's fantastic. Such a fun situation for Illinois here. I mean, they are in a really good spot at 7-3. Much better than we thought. I mean, we did our predictions for the season. I mean, they're on the radio show, they're on the website, everything. And I said, I was thinking 6-6. I said between 5 and 7 wins. They're already there. They're at the top end of that. I don't think anybody said 8 or 9 wins.
I think I said 8, but we have to go back and check tape.
Yeah.
I might check tape.
Ked, we're going to have to check.
Ked's got that I'm right face he's getting.
Check tape.
I'm pretty sure he's wrong. I'm pretty sure it was 7.
Hey, the other thing, guys, is this is going to be good for recruiting. They're starting to flip guys in terms of recruiting, which is going to be really, really nice as well, because in the past, other teams have been able to use that against them. So this is a program, a momentum builder. And I don't think, and I will say this, and this one's going to go on record, this isn't a one-year wonder. He was hired to build a program, and Illinois is building a program. He's not going out getting a bunch of fifth-year seniors and guys transfer portals and then have to start all over again. He is building a program. So I think the fans should be happy. And you know what? You're not blowing everybody out every week. Today, they were lucky enough to put up, 31 points or 38 points. You know what? And that's been a long time since then. You know, when we make our predictions, none of us ever put up 30 and 40 points because they don't do it. But at the end of the day, like Brad mentioned to start this show, 7 wins and the possibility of getting 9.
You know, I want to bring something up because for folks who don't know what IlliniGuys.com is, of course, Brad and Ked have covered recruiting for decades, and they're more famous for basketball, but they also have tons of connections in the football area. I want to ask you guys a little bit about what Deion Sanders said this week. He talked about, why am I going to recruit a class of freshmen where only 4, maybe 5 guys see the field when I can go and get guys out of the transfer portal who are going to play? And what I think he is essentially doing is he's taking the roster from there we are going to a mirror here. He takes the roster from 85. He's collapsing it down to 45 players every year. Is there a way, when you think of what Deion has said, and then you couple that with what Signetti has done at Indiana, although in fairness, bringing everybody from your old team makes it a little easier. But is there an argument that maybe, you don't get quite as many guys in year one as freshmen, and you bring in, you got to be good, but you target guys in the portal who you think are difference makers, particularly at a lower level, and you bring those guys in, and you still might have 4 or 5 studs that are going to play, but you beef up your roster a little more. Is that something, Brad, that's going to be more often done around the country?
I think it's possible. At the other end of it, though, where's your depth? Football's an injury-prone sport. I mean, people are always hurt, dinged up. Coming out for a play, you're going to put a freshman in there who's never played before and in a key spot because a guy's helmet got knocked off. I mean, you want a guy to go in there for that one play because they're going to pick on him, right? I mean, so I see his point. Now, I'm more of the approach where you take your guys, and some of them are going to leave, and you just replace people through the portal. I mean, there's going to be great options in the portal every year. You take 7, 8 guys in the portal every year, build your program that way. I think that's an easier way to do it, or a better way to do it long term. Because what do you do if you're relying on taking 20 guys in the portal? What do you do if there's not really 20 guys that you can get? I guess if you have crazy NIL, you're a Georgia and Alabama.
Let's say Illinois is never going to have
Texas,
that.
Ohio State, Michigan, whatever. Michigan offering a guy $10 million to play quarterback. If you're one of those teams, maybe you can do that. I don't think Illinois can do that. I think they have to take a different approach and recruit high school players. And hopefully they can play by their second year, or you might get some guys who are freshmen who can come in and surprise. And I think Illinois has done that. Even underrated kids have come in and been competitive as freshmen. Not all of them. There's a lot of them who are really highly regarded that have taken a couple years before they've been able to get on the field, and then they're fine. But yeah, that's my approach. I think that's the way you have to do it. I think Deion's different. Deion doesn't want to go out and recruit high school kids, though, because he'd have to go to games and go to camps and go watch kids, and I don't think he wants to do that.
I'm going to take a different approach. I know basketball and football is different, but Brad Underwood is doing exactly what Deion's doing. And he's done that, and he's been successful at it. The one thing that Brad is right about, the injuries are a lot more prone to happen, but you can do that. And if it was me, I would go out. I'm a big fan of the portal, and I've said this from day one. The only reason Illinois is competitive right now is because of the transfer portal. Look at their star players or their quarterback and receivers. They're transfers. And if you don't have the NIL, you don't get those players. Luke Altmaier isn't playing. He wouldn't have been there last year. He would have to sit out. So, yes, you can build in the transfer portal, but you also have to build depth. And I think Bielema was doing it right. But what stinks about Illinois is that I think they've lost out on some kids because of the amount of NIL dollars that they have. Because there's no one can tell me any different that Illinois is not as attractive as some of the other Big Ten teams because they have great facilities. You're in the Big Ten. You're on TV every week. They have the best sports package in the history of sports next to the NFL. So there's no reason, and great coaches and a great fan base. Get the NIL dollars there, and then you could get those players. You could develop an offensive line. And on the flip side of it, you're always, with the NIL, the transfer, the way it is, you're going to lose kids. You're always going to lose kids. Every program is going to do that. And on a positive note, some kids do step up and some kids do shine as freshmen. I like it. Like I said, basketball and football is different, but Brad Underwood he's done a great job of it. You look at Shauna Green, the women's program, and right now, she has one of the top 5 classes in the country, but she did it with all freshmen. But she's going to have to mix that with some veteran and some transfers.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I, like I said, my thoughts were, when you take a look at this, Illinois has been extremely successful under Josh Whitman. And, people listening here, the donations to icon4illini.com, that's the, the Illini NIL organization. It's truly a difference maker. I looked at, Carnell Tate catching balls for Ohio State today. I think about the linebacker who's Nathaniel, like I'm blanking on his last name, who's going to be going down to maybe Miami. These guys are getting out of the state of Illinois and certainly finding a way to get a fence and get some of those guys would also really help the Illini. But that's going to take NIL deals because those big teams like Miami and big teams like Ohio State, those guys are going there because of the tradition and the coaching and all that, but they're also going there because they have real opportunities to make some dollars as well.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I don't think, obviously we said basketball is different, and also Illinois football is in a different place than Illinois basketball in the pecking order. But you look at who are the top 4 teams in the country, and you've got, number 1, Oregon, transfer portal quarterback. Ohio State, transfer portal quarterback. Number 3, Texas, transfer portal quarterback. So Indiana, go down the list. I mean, Penn State has Drew Aller, but I mean, I think that you see that. You go out and get the best guys. The best programs are going to get the best guys. That's just the way it works. So it's probably no different than recruiting was previously. I guess the best teams are going to get the best players, and there's a reason they have the most NIL. And Ohio State can back up a Brinks truck and give it to anybody they want,
which is good. But on the other side, I will say this from an Illinois standpoint only. I'm selling the NFL. Brett Bielema has played in the NFL, and he has a proven record. If you play in his system and you get better, the player development is really good. When I talk to recruits, that is big. And I see that so much more now than I have 100 years ago when I started doing this. They really, really care about player development. Some of these kids, they bet on themselves. They know if they get better and they get developed, they know they have a chance to play at the next level. So that matters. And Illinois sells that. And they do. They have a good strength and conditioning program. I'll use a kid right here from my own area. Cole Rusk is he's a tight end. I golfed with that kid in June, and I saw him on the field a couple weeks ago. He looks like a different man, and he's only been down there for a few months.
Perfect. Well, folks, I tell you what, we are getting to the end here of this show. Next week, Illinois plays at Rutgers on Saturday, the 23rd. Another streaming service, folks. So those of you who are still trying to come down off the emotional high of watching the buffering screen for the Mike Tyson fight on Netflix, you get to watch Peacock, and I'm hoping that we will see nobody walking around in their jock in the locker room after the game on Peacock, because I've seen that in boxing.
Are we going to be more appreciative? Are we going to be more appreciative of Peacock now after watching that Netflix debacle? It's like, oh, Peacock, you guys are
65 million households were trying to download that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. They couldn't keep up. Just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
And wait till they get the WWE now. They'll never be able to keep up because Michael downloaded 65 million times.
Just by myself.
Yep.
So we have that now. I will tell you, folks, this week, of course, you're going to see a ton of stories from the Illini guys. We're going to go live in the next probably 15 or 20 minutes where I will have Matt when he gets out of the locker room. So be looking for that. I will try. Ked and Brad are going to go on to their normal lives. I'll try to put out a tweet, and hopefully those two guys can send it out to their folks, who are following them. And of course, if you don't follow any one of us, doesn't take very long to grab our Twitter, or I'm sorry, our X addresses down below. Give each of us a follow so you don't miss anything. Monday night, we will release a podcast with Brian Fonseca, who covers Rutgers. So we will give you all you need to know. If you listen to John Kirby this week, he basically everything he told us about Michigan State, it happened. The only thing is he was optimistic that they could actually win the game. So other than that, he was pretty accurate. So we'll have that. Of course, we'll have previews throughout the week. This is a huge week, folks, for Illinois to go 8. To get that 8-1 victory is huge. And I do think the other thing that we have to think about, and this will be final comments here, but Brett Bielema, he improves to 25-22 during his Illinois career. Since Robert Zupke went undefeated in 2 of his first 3 seasons at Illinois from 1913 to 1915, Bielema's 25-22 start is the second best through 47 games, behind only Mike White, which, of course, the 3 of us on screen here got to experience that in our high school era, and it was spectacular. So Brett Bielema is really starting to accomplish some things, and Illinois went 6-1 at Memorial Stadium this year, the first time they have won 6 games at home in a single season since that 2001 team that got to go play LSU in the Sugar Bowl. So hopefully that's not going to be a little bit of foreshadowing there. But there's a lot of things that are good that are going on with the University of Illinois. That's why we talk about, icon4illini.com, where your average Joe can go there. And if you happen to know a billionaire who would like to donate, please direct them to that place, because other people are going there as well. So, got Mark Cuban helping keep that football program going at Indiana. So we don't want Illinois to not be supported. Brad, you got any comments that we can close this off with?
No, I think they're in a good place. Got a great opportunity here to close out this season. They're a little bit had that bye week. It seemed to help them get a little fresher, and now you just go take care of business at Rutgers, a team that's been on a struggle bus offensively for sure, of late. So yeah, take care of business 1 game at a time. Get to 8 next weekend, and we go from there.
Ked, you got any final comments here as we wrap up this football instant take?
Yes, 7 wins in November. That's the key. If you can win both games, that's great. We talked about the benefits of winning both games, but if you win one, lose one, it's still a great season. And going into the season, people really need to take a step back and think, how many wins did I really predict? Because we looked at the schedule. I mean, Michigan was a team that, let's be honest, we didn't think that they were going to win, and they did. Not the Michigan of old, but they won the game, and they beat the teams they were supposed to beat. Minnesota, yeah, that stings a little bit, but I'm impressed with them. I want to see them continue to build. That's what it's about. I don't want to see one-year wonders anymore.
Perfect. That's a great way to wrap that up. And of course, one other thing, folks, we will be back. We will be doing the halftime show and a post-game show on Wednesday night when the Illini face Alabama at the neutral site of Birmingham, Alabama. So that game is going to be a big one as well. So a lot of coverage here at the Illini, guys. If you enjoy what you've seen, it's only $99 a year. You get all of our content, but the most important thing is you get the message boards. That means you can go back into the message boards and communicate with thousands of other Illini fans. But more importantly, you can ask Brad and Ked questions directly. This is not a passive experience being an Illini Guys subscriber. You can actually interact with Brad, Ked, Matt, Larry, myself, and get actually, like, you think, hey, what did you mean by what you said? And we can actually tell you, or you can disagree. People do that all the time, but it's a lot of fun. It's a give and take. We would love to have people jump on and be a part of that as well. So go to IlliniGuys.com, and all you have to do is register, and you get 6 days for free to kick the tires. On the 7th day, you pay the $99 for the year. It's a huge value, 27 cents a day. We'd love to have you as members, and this is the time to get on board, because you're going to have the transfer portal heating up for football. You're going to have the run for a bowl game, and the basketball team is going to be growing bigger and stronger. What they look like now is not what they're going to look like in March, and you want to be there. And then as soon as that season's over, you get the transfer portal again. There's going to be a lot of fun. So until we see you in a few minutes, be watching at Mike Kegley on Twitter, and you'll see us go live with Matt and I. He will have comments from the coaches and from the players. Until then, go Illini.